Project 1 Formal Analysis by Kallie Jaynes. The subject of my presentation is The Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci, which exhibits multiple elements and principles of design, which allow for the mural to be a timeless historical piece. In this presentation, I will be doing an overview of the painting itself, an analysis and interpretation of the piece, and I will be judging it based on the three philosophies of evaluation, which are the formal, contextual, and expressive theories. The Last Supper is a mural painting that looks 3D but is 2D. It is a 15-foot 1 inch by 29-foot 0 inch mural found in Milan, Italy. It is painted on a stone wall and is a representational piece made to represent Jesus' Last Supper with his disciples. In the painting, multiple elements of art can be seen, such as color, lines, value, and shape. When we take a deeper look at the painting, I will show the different areas where these elements are shown. Here on the bottom left, we have an example of value that can be seen in the table. Here on the top left, we have an example of shape with the murals, and it can also be seen in the windows. Right below that, we have an example of color with the different colors used to separate the two figures. And over here on the top, we have an example of lines up in the rafters. The materials used to create this historic painting are tempera, gesso, pitch, and mastic. It is often thought that Leonardo made the painting using fresco. However, due to his known perfectionism, Leonardo chose to use tempera, more commonly known as oil paint, to make this piece. Unfortunately, this choice in medium meant that the pigments would not be permanently stuck to the wall, making it easy to deteriorate. The Last Supper depicts an image of Jesus having his Last Supper with his disciples. In the painting, Jesus is in the center with 6 disciples on each side of him, and within those 6 disciples, they are split into 3. The moment in this painting represents the moment when Jesus tells his disciples that one of them will betray him. As discussed earlier, the elements of line, shape, color, and value work together to create a realistic visual of Jesus' Last Supper. From the coloring of their robes, to the shaping of the windows, to the value of the food on the table, and the implied lines that allow the viewer's eyes to move across the canvas. The Last Supper is a historical painting that is inspired by Christianity. The painting was started in 1495 and finished in 1498. This kind of painting was typical in the 15th century and could often be found in the refectory walls of monasteries and in convents. Leonardo da Vinci was commissioned for this painting by a man named Ludovico Sforza, who was the Duke of Milan. When looking at the Last Supper, there are multiple principles of design that can be seen, including balance, contrast, emphasis, and repetition. Balance can be seen with Jesus in the center with an equal amount of disciples on each side. Contrast can be seen by the darkness of the background compared to the figures themselves. Emphasis can be seen with Jesus being in the center and the symmetry that is on both sides of him, as well as the space between him and the disciples next to him. And repetition can be seen in the shapes and the doorways as well as on the ceiling. The painting shows the last moments Jesus had with his disciples. It was in this moment that he had just told them that one of them would betray him. This is why Jesus looks so calm and the disciples are so distraught. This allows for Jesus to be seen as he's known, which is kind and serene. It can also be interpreted as Christ-centered peace, which reflects on the time era. Now to judge the painting based on the 3 philosophies of evaluation. First, we will be doing formal theory. In my mind, this theory is one of the easiest theories to be successful in. It focuses on the artist's ability to use different elements of design to create a pleasing piece. The Last Supper would be considered successful in this theory. Leonardo da Vinci uses the elements and principles of design as a way to create unity in the artwork and make it visually pleasing. The choice of media for this art allow for it to be representational, which would also make it successful according to this theory. The next theory is the contextual theory, which focuses on judging artwork based on the cultural context in which it was made. Leonardo's work would be considered successful in this theory because it was made in the 15th century, which focused around Christianity. During this time, murals of these types of moments with Jesus were quite common. Also, during this time, the Renaissance era was going on, causing this to be one of the most famous Renaissance paintings. The last theory is the expressive theory. The painting would be considered unsuccessful according to this theory. The artist expresses what he imagined the subjects of the scene would feel, rather than what he feels himself. Also, due to the work being commissioned, there was little room for his personal expression. The Last Supper is a historical and religious representational mural painted by Leonardo da Vinci during the 15th century. This painting can be considered successful under the formal and contextual theories. It demonstrates one of the last moments that Jesus shared with his disciples. This painting also consists of various elements and principles of design. Some of the elements include line, color, shape, and value, while some of the principles include balance, contrast, and repetition. Altogether, this historical painting continues to influence art today and can be seen as inspiration in various artworks.